Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
My brother at some point, because he was in the safe room with his babies, twin daughters and his son, 2-year-old son, he put on a Viking helmet. He held a screwdriver. He was in his boxers because everyone ran to safe rooms from their beds early Saturday morning. He held the handle of the safe room and he made a face to make fun, to make everyone okay. They were writing, trying to do things, understand, and then the messages came. They're here, they're burning us, we're suffocating. Him and his wife were shot through the window. They managed to keep the window closed. They decided no one is taking them. They decided they'll suffocate, smoke inhalation together, and they held up while wounded. Great bravery. I'm so proud of them. My mom, too, she was in the safe room with her dog, and she fought, and therefore she was shot and not taken. Great loss. Such a big, beautiful tribe we had. Half of our family is gone. The children are torn. This was our life. This was our love. My brother really reminds me of Life is Beautiful, Roberto Benigni, making his jokes and trying to keep things light in the face of horrific doomsday scenario.
I don't know how everybody there is so strong and are telling these horrendous stories about being on the phone with their family and their family making a family group decision to just, burn, to just go ahead and succumb to the smoke and die that way as long as they could be together and not want to be taken by Hamas because they know what that looks like because they've seen it before. I don't know where they get this strength, this stoic nature that they are recounting these stories to us in this posture. I gotta think they're numb. You know what I mean? If you've ever lost somebody really close to you, I think we all have. I always say that there's this this period of time where it's sort of a numbness, I have a name for it. I call it God's anesthesia, because if you weren't anesthetized to the pain that you were about to, own, you couldn't possibly plan a funeral. Do you know what I'm saying? You couldn't possibly make the calls you had to make. You couldn't possibly pick out an outfit for your loved one to be buried in. You couldn't possibly go to a funeral director and say, this is how my mom wore her makeup, and I need for you to give her eyebrows. I mean, you couldn't possibly do that unless there was this certain anesthetic that the universe provided for you to operate inside of. And I got to think that that's where they are emotionally, that is where this composed, very strong nature with which they are recounting these horrific stories that they the girl before, this one was on the phone with her family. The girl before, when I played her story, she was in a bomb shelter where everybody was dead, and she watched people get grenaded, blown apart, and cry for 2 hours, which brings me to this. This man's government, this Netanyahu, is so inept and so incapable and has been in charge for so freaking long and has dismantled, again, we have to remind you of the situation in which this was all exploitable, right? The way that Israel was, presenting to the world, especially to its enemies, is the same way that we're presenting to the world right now, especially our enemies, and that is this: total chaos. Total chaos. It's not just the House that's in chaos. It's not just the House that won't, the Republican majority will not pick a speaker. And the reason why they don't want to pick a speaker is because as long as they don't have a speaker, they have no ability to legislate. They have no ability to appropriate. They have no ability to give, bullets to Israel or bullets to Ukraine. There's no pressure to do anything because they can't, right? They can't. So they're AWOL. Basically, in a time of extreme crisis around this world for allies and friends and democracies, that are sitting in the middle of Russia and an incursion from Russia, that are sitting in the middle of enemies to the north, enemies to the south, enemies to the east, enemies to the west. I mean, it's crazy. And they refuse to actually lead. They refuse to take the mantle that they were given by the American people, one of leadership, and lead. They refuse. And it's not just the House. It's the Senate, too. Remember, Tommy Tuberville over there in Alabama has held up ambassadorships. And one of them, I told you, we don't have an ambassador to Israel. They they nominated Jack Lew, okay, from the Treasury. And they would like to make Jack Lew the ambassador to Israel. But we can't actually confirm anybody. We don't have an ambassador to Oman. We don't have an ambassador to Lebanon. We don't have an ambassador to Israel. We don't have an ambassador. None of these jobs are filled. None of them. We don't have a commander of the Fifth Fleet, okay? Because the commander of the Fifth Fleet got promoted. He's supposed to go to CENTCOM. And so we have our nominee that's waiting to take over the Fifth Fleet. Now, the Fifth Fleet is in the Mediterranean now. We're considering sending another carrier group, okay, to be another deterrent to like Lebanon getting involved, to Hezbollah getting involved. It's an amazing thing when you look at why now. Why now? Why did Hamas feel so emboldened to go in there and not take on the military, no, but to take on individuals in 22 different locations, and like 20 at a time in groups? They would pour out of these, pickup trucks, okay, armed to the teeth, and just do that and take hostages and all. Why now? And, if you don't know the answer yet, listen to their stories, and not just for the brutality of it and the sadness of it and the loss that they're recounting, but listen to the response. There was none. There was no response. The man that I played at the first personal story, that Tom Hand is his name, and his daughter Emily, the 8-year-old, who was killed. And he's thanking God for taking her instead of torturing her and letting her live through fear and terrifying, scenarios. He said he waited, and then he waited some more, and he waited some more, and no one came. No one came. You know what this reminded me of? And hiding under corpses and all? It's Uvalde. It's Uvalde. It's America. No one comes anymore. No one comes. And why would that be? That would be bad leadership, okay? Texas is led by Greg Abbott, who only comes up with like yoga balls of death, okay? Devices of torture, devices of death. Yoga balls wrapped in razor wire to kill children and their parents who are swimming, hopefully, to a better place, okay? No, we have to cut them into little shreds. We have to cut them into pieces. You know how Nazi it felt when Trump was president? They were separating women and children. You remember that was like the Sophie's Choice Nazi scenario of the Polish lady, right? That's what this is. And nobody came to get them. They live 5 seconds outside of Gaza, and no army was there. What? Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.